Let me give the other stream here just a second to get caught up. We still got 4 minutes until the close here, so kind of as we start to review the market, we should be getting the closing bell right around then. Looks like both streams are up and running now. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for January 7th, 2022. Qs down almost 1%. Started to bounce off the lows already. SPY down 0.28, and then IWM down 1.1. Coming into today, the bias was stay bearish until we take out yesterday's high because we had a decent enough hourly sell setup. I just got finished saying this in the room too. It's not the best sell setup. It is extended. We didn't have really a clean pullback. That goes for all of them, SPY and Qs as well. But it was really the only pattern that we had to work with. I'm not going to, go back up here because this is where the last place where we had some consolidation. This was a pretty fluid drop. And so it was what we had to work with. That's what we stuck with. Stayed bearish coming into today. And the market's a little bit lower. I mean, I don't think there's too much to read into today. And it definitely, for me, doesn't change anything as far as how I approach things going into Monday. So going into Monday, it's still going to be yesterday's high. That's the pivot, okay? If we base here and then break down, then I can use the top of the base as the next line in the sand, okay? But for Monday morning purposes, it's going to be yesterday's high. Okay, so not too much to go over there, not too much to update. All right, pretty much kind of the same. And I think that goes for trading environment as well. Everything's still kind of the same. Day in and day out, we kind of just update if there is something to update. But also, I think things are fine as far as what's available. I thought today was probably the quietest day of the week, and yesterday might have been the busiest day of the week. But in the larger scheme of things, they're all pretty kind of quiet, slow days. But yeah, today, really nice call on the TMUS from James. Really good gap, right? Trying to bounce and then failing on the bounce. Had a nice play on that. Nice breakdown here in the morning, right in here. So this, as the 20 MA is curling over price. So nice job there on the TMUS. And then ended up also playing the QNRX. So QNRX is, these we've seen quite a few of. We actually saw a lot of these last year around this time as well, beginning of the year, start to really have some nice moves. It's where they're in a downtrend and then try to end the downtrend. This also has kind of the same issue that the PSTV had yesterday. As far as a big gap up that failed, but at least it wasn't, the very next day or the day after where the PSTV was trying to do it. This actually had kind of put some distance between it and that big sell-off event or that big gap failure. So that was the play on that was the gap on the QNRX, right? And then here was the buy setup that I played. Just right here off that rising 20. Okay, got it over 210. I put the stop under $2 just because under the pivot was like 202 or 201. So I gave it the extra couple cents just to have the whole number be a part of the play, be a part of the stop. That's the closing bell. So yeah, so it did get to the first target and then ended up holding a third of it. That ended up failing, and I was ready to actually add the first piece back in because it was setting up really nicely on the 5. And I had called this too, but this ended up not triggering and then came in, and then the original play got out of it. So that was the QNRX. I'm decided to hold a little bit more as a runner just because of what happened on Monday, which was that GNPX. Was that Monday? Yeah, Monday. Was that GNPX? And, these that are in this severe downtrend and then in the downtrend have big reward to risk potential. This only ended up maxing out, I think, like 2.3 Rs because it was such a tight stop. But I mean, especially you compare this to the move on the in the GNPX. This looks so small, um, but I ended up not able to hold the move really on the QNRX, and that was kind of about it. I mean, I wanted to play the MX this afternoon. If it based into the declining 20 MA and then broke down, said it kind of just based and then didn't go and didn't do anything. And then the other thing I was looking at was the TXN, but the TXN wasn't showing a lot of momentum really. Didn't look that much different than the market. I mean, look at this TXN and then look at the Qs. They're not that different. So I kind of doubted whether or not the TXN really had somewhere to be today. And of course, if it were going to be played, I'd be playing it as a short because it is a pro gap down. So I kind of questioned whether this really had anywhere to be today. And you can see here, what did it do? Broke down, they got bought, and kind of closed more towards what would have been the entry. So that ended up being kind of the right call there on the TXN, that the TXN really, was kind of done for the day. Wasn't going to move a lot, already kind of got sold in the morning. Although I like this gap. There just was no entry. That was a little bit too strong of a move to start things off. And then I could have played an additional entry if it, did a base there or moved back up and did a decent, sell setup here at the 20 MA. Didn't do any of those, so there was no play for me on the TXN, which is fine. But there was a lot of like that this morning, just kind of watching things, see if anything's going to set up, and most things that I really wanted to play didn't set up. MRIN got sold right at the open, and so did the ABSI. Those were the two. Actually, this did get sold. And then this also didn't give an entry. So it got sold first. I don't play these buy setups off the new lows. And then I didn't like this buy setup. We talked about in the room why. And then the ABSI was the other one. I liked that gap and just got sold. So, it was kind of disappointing in the sense that I thought there was some potential, some good gaps, and then a lot of them didn't materialize. But, in another 2 weeks or so, we will have a lot to look at. So just hang in there if you're finding kind of this environment to be a little boring. Yeah, because I think it's okay. I'm okay with this pace. It's actually going to probably be a little bit of a shock to the system when earnings season picks up. That we feel like can't keep up. So, just do your best during this time, and then just kind of keep in mind that things will change in a couple weeks. All right. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back at it on Monday, and I'll talk to you then. Have a good evening.